Now I welcome on your behalf the Rev Paul Burgess, who's going to tell us all about the mobile Christian library. And it's through in the hall after the service for you to go and see for yourself. Paul.
Well, it's very nice to be here in this very unique church. Fantastic. I'm sure the fellowship afterwards over tea and coffee will be equally fantastic, and I hope you'll be able to come and view this library I'm going to talk about today. So thank you and welcome to the Presbytery Mobile Library. Who reads books today? I hear you ask. Good question. In this day of iPads and Kindle tablets, I wonder if you do much reading today. This little girl certainly doesn't seem interested, but her teacher will want her to read, or she won't learn. In fact, our English word education comes from the Latin word to nourish, to feed, to nurture. So I was very pleased last week to receive this from Dundonald Church, quite near Kilmarnock, an article asking in their August magazine, have you ever thought you could be giving more priority to nourishing, feeding, and nurturing your faith? If that thought has crossed your mind and you would like to grow in your understanding of faith and how to put it into practice, Presbytery's Mobile Library could be for you. Now, a Presbytery library may seem novel, but the idea of a library goes back 5,000 years, well back before the days of Abraham, in the time when writing on clay tablets rather than tablets was first evolved in Mesopotamia, describing the exploits of Sumerian kings around 3000 BC. They'd wanted to talk about their own importance as rulers and how all about the great things that they had done. But what these clay tablets really made possible was for individuals to record who and what was significant. But by the time of Moses, important documents were being written on papyrus sheets, sewn together to form scrolls. Now you're probably thinking of Moses writing on tablets. Well, it was the finger of God that wrote on stone tablets, but Moses, if he wrote at all, would write on scrolls. 600 years later, Ezra reads a long-lost copy of the Law of Moses to the Jews recently returned from exile. In time, many different kinds of writing formed the Old Testament. It was from a scroll of Isaiah the prophet that Jesus read out in the synagogue. He has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. But after he returned to his Father in heaven, Christians soon realized the need to also put down in writing all that Jesus did and taught. So a whole library of books was collected of Christian faith and practice. And we now call this library of Old and New Testament books the Bible. And we all have one, I hope. During the past 2,000 years, that same Bible has come down to us in the form first of parchments, then in codex form, and with the invention of the printing press, the familiar book form. Now, today, of course, we can also access this library on tablets again, iPad tablets. Thus, every Christian who possesses a Bible, that's you and me, has access to a Spirit-inspired library of Christian faith, i.e., who Jesus was and what he did, and also of Christian practice, i.e., what he taught. Plus, how all this was anticipated in the Old Testament and expounded in the New Testament. So, why need another library of Christian faith and practice as well? Well, we need to remember the story of Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. You remember that the eunuch was reading his own scroll of Isaiah, and Philip asks, "Do you understand what you're reading?" And he said, "Oh, how can I, unless someone guides me?" And he asked Philip to come and sit with him. Now, today there is so much that we don't understand about how society thinks, let alone how we should respond biblically. We need someone more knowledgeable and wiser to sit with us, like Philip sat with the eunuch. And that's what we do when we pick up a book by an author who has studied and reflected on a topic that may puzzle us. Do we have questions in our minds about why God allows suffering? Well, we can listen to C.S. Lewis reflecting on the problem of pain. I was fortunate enough to go to his lectures when I was an undergraduate at Cambridge. Or maybe we wonder what the Bible has to teach us about practicing our faith at work. We can read the Oxford mathematician John Lennox, who's still alive, about making a good return in the workplace. In fact, we need all the help we can get to nourish and feed and nurture both our faith and its daily practice. Now, the remit of the library, the mobile library, is to provide on free loan to members the most reliable, short and accessible introductory titles currently available on significant topics of Christian faith and practice. Now, this library is not a general library of Christian topics such as you've probably got already in this church. Rather, it aims to provide a single book, sometimes a second one as well, that will give that reader a helpful orientation to a particular subject or topic, written from a broadly orthodox perspective. Membership is open to members of any church, of any denomination, within the bounds of the Presbytery of the Southwest. The library books themselves are housed in recycled lunch boxes. They were given to me by one of our elderly church members who gets her meals on wheels, as it were. And they were transported here today in my Clio car. There it is. You can see it for yourself. Earlier this summer, I was able to take them down to Moffat for the Presbytery meeting in Upper Annandale Parish Church. Now, the library has more than 270 books, covering 220 different topics and housed in 20 cartons. So far, since COVID has ended, the library has 34 members. Membership costs £1 per card, initial cost of £1. You're allowed 3 cards maximum. Somebody wanted 4 at Annandale, but I said no, 3. And you can take books out for 3 months before returning them. So remember this, a member paying £3 for 3 cards can have 3 books for 3 months. That's the sales pitch. Now, there are 3 sections to the library. The main layperson's library of shorter books, that's the main part, as you'll see as you go in at the door, and a smaller advanced section for those in ministry and wanting to explore a topic further. A new edition has just recently been piloted to provide resources for messy church leaders and their parents, or rather the parents of the children, I should say, not of the leaders, asking questions about the Bible and the Christian faith. And now I think I've got time just to quickly go through 4 books, which I shall do rather ad lib. A classic of modern Jewish spirituality is The Sabbath. We've all been reading about Eric Liddell recently, I think, because of the Olympics. And this was the subject that caused him not to run on Sunday, the Sabbath. So if you want to read more about that, I heartily recommend this classic. It's by a Jew, but it's very good. The next one is about transgenderism, and many people are worried about transgenderism, and that's an excellent book too. And then there's A Good Old Age My wife's reading at the moment. She's a bit fed up with me because I insisted on putting in the library so somebody else could have a look at it. She's got as far as C. It's the A, B, C, D, E to Z of getting old in a Christian way. And it's got wonderful thoughts in it. She'll tell you all about it if you ask her. And then there's Christian Giving, and that was by a bishop of 100 years ago from India. And it's very accessible to you and me. It's I found it helpful just reading it myself this week because I had a problem with a Pakistani student of mine who was worried about how much he should give to the Lord and should he give it out of his allowance and so on. And what I learned from Bishop Azara was that you only give according to the way God has provided for you. And if he hasn't provided enough for you to give, then you can't give. But you give when he does provide. And he does provide for all of us. And finally, the whole of life is a journey to God, said the late Queen Elizabeth. And a couple of years ago, we were celebrating her long life and her great example of Christian faith and practice. The library's book of the month at the time was entitled Our Faithful Queen. This short pictorial portrait draws on prayers and Bible readings that she meditated upon in the months leading up to her coronation, as she prepared for her exemplary life as queen. Further copies of this commemorative book are available this morning, or they should have been available, but I forgot to bring them. However, there is a list that you can sign up for, and I will say that they either come next Sunday or the Sunday after, depending on when I next do shopping in Tesco. That's the way the library works. Anyway, further copies are available, and they are free upon a donation, giving a donation to the library, because the library costs money, as you probably appreciate. So if you make a little donation, you can take away this splendid little book. So take time to take a look around the library after this service. Thank you very much. Sorry, it was 11 minutes. Where are you?
I'm counting.